I, female, 22, am living at home with my dad, male, 48, my stepmom, Diana, female, 38, and my step-siblings, Tyler, male, 7, and Lily, female, 5, while I finish up my degree. Honestly, didn't think I'd ever be posting here, but I literally have no one else to talk to, and I'm so confused about whether I'm being unreasonable or if Diana is actually being as terrible as I think she is. Like, am I missing something here? So background, I guess. My mom died from cancer 6 years ago, and it basically destroyed my dad and me. We were always close, but after mom died, we basically just had each other, and we got super close. Like, we would do these weekend movie nights where we'd make my mom's caramel popcorn recipe and just... I don't know, it sounds dumb writing it out, but it was our thing. It helped us both deal with everything, I think. Dad was really depressed for like 2 years after mom died. Like, really bad. Some days he wouldn't even get out of bed. I basically took care of everything for a while, cooking, cleaning, etc., and I was totally fine with it. BC, he was grieving, and I was too. But I could function a little better, I guess. When I was choosing colleges, I got scholarship offers from some places out of state, but I decided to go to the local university instead. Partly to save money, those scholarships weren't full rides or anything, but also because I was worried about leaving Dad alone when he was still struggling. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. Anyway, Dad met Diana at his friend's wedding like 4 years ago. She had just gone through this messy divorce and had 2 little kids, and I was honestly kind of relieved when they started dating because she seemed to make him happy again. He started smiling more and actually leaving the house and stuff. I never had any issues with Diana at first. Well, actually, no, that's not true. There were some things that bothered me, but I ignored them because Dad was happy. Like how fast everything happened. They got married after only 9 months, and how she moved into our house with her kids before they even got married, and how she would make these comments about finally finding a real man who knows how to provide for a family, which always seemed kind of weird to me. But whatever, Dad seemed happy, so I tried to be supportive. I decided to keep living at home during college to save money. Apartment costs are insane here. And I've been working part-time at the university tutoring center while keeping up a 3.8 GPA. I'm an accounting major, and I just got offered an entry-level position at this mid-sized accounting firm that would start right after graduation in like 2 months. I was so excited because this is literally what I've been working towards for 4 years. When Diana first moved in, she would occasionally ask if I could help with Tyler and Lily, which I was totally fine with. They're sweet kids and I actually really like them. But over the past year, her occasional requests have turned into basically me being their primary caretaker whenever I'm not in class. And I mean, I get that being a mom is exhausting. I raised my baby brother for a few years after my mom got sick, so I know it's not easy, but it just keeps getting worse. At first, it was just watching them for a couple hours while she ran errands or whatever. Then it was picking them up from school. Then it was making them dinner. Then it was giving them baths and putting them to bed. Now it's basically everything kid-related on days I don't have class. She says she needs to focus on being a better wife and can't handle the children alone, which I guess makes sense. Like maybe she's still adjusting to everything. I don't know. Dad has been working longer hours and going on more business trips lately, so he isn't really aware of what's going on at home. I tried telling him a few times, but he's either not home or Diana somehow always manages to interrupt and change the subject. It's like she has a radar for when I'm about to talk to him about something serious. So last week, I announced my job offer at dinner. I was so excited and proud of myself, and Dad was super happy for me. He said congrats and that we should celebrate that weekend. But Diana got this weird look on her face before forcing a fake smile. She immediately started asking all these questions about the hours and where the office is located, and if I was still planning to live at home. When I explained it was a full-time position about 30 mins away, and that I'd probably get my own place eventually, once I save up enough, Dad said that's exactly what I've been working towards. But Diana just changed the subject really abruptly to some project Tyler was doing at school. She seemed super irritated. Later that night, Diana cornered me in the kitchen when Dad wasn't around and told me that me accepting this job would leave her in an impossible situation with the kids. I was so confused because this was always the plan. I've been talking about getting an accounting job after graduation for literally years. She said I was being selfish after all she's done for me, which is, what exactly? I live in my childhood home that my dad owns. I pay for my own tuition and books with scholarships and my job. I watch her kids all the time for free. The next morning, she sat me down for a serious family discussion about responsibilities and contributions. Her exact words, I swear. She told me I needed to turn down the job offer to provide full-time childcare for Tyler and Lily. She said it was my family duty. Since I'm living rent-free and that hiring childcare would cost more than Dad could afford, given all he does for this family already. And she offered to pay me $200 a month as an allowance for watching her kids full-time. Full-time childcare around here costs at least $2,000 a month. Not to mention I'd be giving up a career I've spent 4 years working towards. I told her no way. I needed to start my career, and this has been my plan for years. She got really quiet, which was honestly scarier than if she'd yelled. Since then, she's been, I don't even know how to describe it. She accidentally spilled bleach on my favorite blazer that I was planning to wear for job interviews. She made this rule that I'm not allowed to use the kitchen after 8 p.m., but everyone else can. She's constantly making these passive-aggressive comments in front of Dad, but they're worded in a way that sounds innocent if you don't know what she's really talking about. I've tried to talk to Dad about this so many times, but he's either away on business trips or Diana somehow manages to interrupt and redirect the conversation. It's crazy how different she acts when he's around versus when we're alone. With him, she's all sweet and supportive, but the second he leaves the room, she changes completely. The breaking point was yesterday when I overheard her on the phone with someone saying she finally had the childcare situation figured out and just needed to make sure Mark sees how entitled his daughter is being, so he would put his foot down about the job nonsense. I felt sick to my stomach. Later that night, she came into my room while I was studying and asked if I had reconsidered that job situation. When I told her I was definitely taking the position and would move out if necessary, she actually laughed at me and said, "There's no way I could afford an apartment on an entry-level salary in our area." Then she threatened to convince my dad that I'm taking advantage of them and should contribute more to the household. She told me she's already been helping Mark see how self-centered you've become lately. And when I said my dad would understand my perspective, she just smirked and said, he trusts my judgment completely, and that I'd be surprised what he believes when she's upset enough. The worst part was when she said if I don't do what she wants, she'll make sure Dad cuts off any support for my tuition and books. I was so shocked, I couldn't even respond. I just nodded to get her to leave. Things have gotten even worse since then. She won't let me use the washer-dryer anymore, says my clothes take up too much space. She accidentally deleted some of my important school files from the family computer, and she's constantly criticizing me in these subtle ways that Dad doesn't even notice. I've started secretly recording her when she talks to me like this. I looked it up, and in my state, it's legal to record conversations as long as one party consents, which would be me. I've already got proof of her threatening me about the job and saying she'll turn Dad against me. I don't know what to do. I love Tyler and Lily, and I don't want to hurt them or my dad, but I feel so trapped. I've worked so hard for this opportunity, and it feels like she's trying to destroy my future just so she can have free childcare. Am I crazy? Is this normal stepmom behavior that I'm overreacting to? I honestly don't know anymore. Edit. So many people are asking why my dad doesn't see what's happening. I think it's because Diana is really careful about how she acts when he's around. And honestly, he's been working so much lately that he's barely home anyway. When he is home, she's like a completely different person, super sweet and attentive. To answer the questions about where Diana is all day if I'm watching the kids, she says she's running errands or going to doctor's appointments or meeting friends for lunch. I have no idea if that's true. She's usually gone for hours at a time, but doesn't seem to come back with many groceries or anything. I never really questioned it until now. Now for the first update. My stepmom wants me to turn down my dream job after graduation to be her free nanny, now threatening me if I don't. So, it's been 3 weeks since my last post, and things have gotten so much worse. I still can't believe this is actually happening to me and not some TV show. I wish I was making this up. So the past 3 weeks I've been basically collecting evidence in my own house. I researched one-party consent recording laws in my state, which is totally legal here, thank God, and started recording every interaction I have with Diana when Dad's not around. I literally have hours of recordings now of her being verbally abusive and manipulative and making these crazy threats about my college funding and housing situation. The stress of all this has been a lot. I've developed this weird eye twitch that people in my advanced accounting class keep pointing out. Super embarrassing, by the way. And apparently I've been grinding my teeth so bad at night that I cracked a filling last week. Had to spend $175 at the dentist that I was saving for a nice outfit for my new job. Sigh. But honestly, finding out about the teeth grinding was nothing compared to what I discovered about Diana. So last week, I needed to find my social security card for all the new job paperwork. It's usually in my dad's filing cabinet in his home office. While I was looking through the cabinet, not snooping, I swear, I was just looking for my own documents, I found these financial statements showing Diana gets almost $2,500 a month in child support from her ex-husband, Jason. At first, I just thought okay, maybe she's private about her finances or whatever. But then I remembered how she's constantly talking about how we need to cut household expenses and how my dad is struggling to support everyone. She's been making it sound like they're barely making ends meet when she's getting $30K a year that my dad doesn't even know about. This made me super suspicious, so I started paying closer attention to her schedule. She always claimed she was running errands most weekdays when I was watching Tyler and Lily. So one day last week, I pretended I forgot an important textbook and went back home after my morning class. I saw her drop the kids at school and then drive to this fancy boutique in the rich part of town. I waited a bit and then walked by and saw her working there. She has a secret job. This whole time she's been using me as free childcare so she could work and pocket her child support money while still getting child expenses money from my dad. I was literally shaking when I realized this, but it gets worse. I managed to record a conversation with Diana where she basically admitted her real reasons for marrying my dad. I was helping her fold laundry, trying to act normal while secretly recording, and casually asked about how she and Dad got together. I asked what attracted her to my dad, and she laughed and said something like how she was totally exhausted from fighting with my deadbeat ex, which contradicts the $2,500 a month she gets from him now, by the way. She said my dad was like a financial savior after her money troubles. I carefully asked if she was nervous about becoming part of our family, and she just shrugged and told me that dealing with the family part was what she had to do to get financial security. She admitted she had specifically been looking for someone established who wouldn't ask too many questions about money. When I asked about her plans for when Tyler and Lily are older, she mentioned she was planning to set herself up properly and that she learned from her first marriage to protect her interests. She told me that having me home with the kids was working out perfectly because it meant no daycare costs eating into our budget. I felt sick listening to her talk about my dad like he was just a wallet. But wait, there's more. I discovered Diana is having an affair. I wish I was making this up. I noticed she always came home from certain ladies' lunch dates with wet hair even when it wasn't raining. She claimed it was raining in another part of town, but it happened like 3 times and seemed super weird. Then one afternoon my laptop crashed right before a huge assignment was due. I needed to print something as soon as possible, so I used Diana's tablet, which was just sitting on the counter. When I opened the browser, there were all these explicit messages still up in some messaging app I've never heard of from someone saved as Mike G. They were arranging meetings at some hotel downtown and talking about how to avoid getting caught. I took pictures of everything with my phone because I knew no one would believe this. And she's been stealing from my dad. I found credit card statements showing Diana opened a card in my dad's name without him knowing. She spent over $12,000 on clothes and spa stuff and hotel rooms, guess who with. I also found these household expense reports she gives to my dad that are completely inflated. Like, she'll tell him groceries cost $400 when the actual receipt shows $250, and she pockets the difference. She has a secret bank account too. I found a statement showing she transfers like $200 to $300 every week from their joint account to her personal account that my dad doesn't know exists. Then something really crazy happened. Diana's ex-husband Jason messaged me on Instagram out of nowhere. I've never really talked to him before during kid drop-offs, so I was super confused. He told me he's been trying to get more visitation with Tyler and Lily, but Diana keeps telling him they're too busy with family activities and adjusting to their new home life. He said Diana has been canceling his scheduled weekends all the time, which violates their custody agreement. He wanted to know if I could confirm when the kids were actually with Diana versus being watched by me or others. He seemed genuinely concerned about his kids, not just trying to cause trouble for Diana. I've been documenting everything. I back up all recordings to secure cloud storage and took pictures of all the financial documents. Basically, I have enough evidence to show that Diana is 1. Hiding substantial income from my dad. 2. Working secretly while using me for free childcare. 3. Married my dad primarily for financial security. 4. Having an affair. 5. Stealing thousands of dollars from my dad. 6. Violating her custody agreement with her ex Stelling. I've been so anxious about telling my dad all this. I know it will absolutely devastate him, but he needs to know the truth. Yesterday, I decided to test the waters by confronting Diana about one small thing: her secret job. I approached her while the kids were at school and calmly mentioned that I knew she worked at the boutique instead of running errands. She literally froze for a second before dismissing it as just helping a friend occasionally. Then she got super defensive and demanded to know if I'd been spying on her. I just said I knew she'd been lying about where she goes during the day. She tried to justify it as just a little spending money for the family. Shorten. When I asked about the child support payments that she never discusses with my dad, her whole face changed. It was scary. She told me I was playing a dangerous game and then threatened to tell my dad that I've been stealing prescription medications from their medicine cabinet, which is a complete lie. She basically gave me an ultimatum: keep quiet about everything or be thrown out with my reputation ruined. Since that confrontation, Diana has gotten even more aggressive. She deleted my thesis draft from the family computer, thank God for cloud backups, served me dinner with mushrooms in it twice when she knows I'm allergic to them, and keeps making comments to my dad about how young people today have no family loyalty and what an entitled generation we are. Dad just sighs when she says this stuff. At first I thought he was agreeing with her, but now I realize he's probably just exhausted from all his work travel and doesn't even catch what she's really saying. Yesterday, Diana told me to either reject my job offer by the end of this week, or she'll kick me out with nothing and make sure my dad won't talk to me again. I'm done. I've compiled everything into organized folders: recordings, financial documents, screenshots, everything. Dad gets back from his business trip tomorrow night, and I'm going to show him everything. I'm terrified about how this will affect Tyler and Lily. I really do love those kids despite everything, and I'm worried about breaking up their family, but I can't let this continue. Am I doing the right thing? I keep second-guessing myself, even though I know the evidence is overwhelming. This could destroy my dad, but he deserves to know who he really married. Now for the second update. So it's been 10 days since my last update, and honestly my entire life has completely changed. Like, completely. The past week and a half has been such a whirlwind. I'm still processing everything that happened. It's been a lot. I don't even know where to start. I guess I should start with the fact that my dad finally came home from his business trip last week. I was literally so stressed about confronting him that I broke out in these gross hives all over my neck and chest. Super attractive, right? I've been wearing turtlenecks even though it's been like 75 degrees outside because I didn't want Diana to see. She actually saw me scratching my neck once and made a comment about guilty consciences showing up physically, which made me want to scream, but whatever. So I had everything planned out. I waited until Tyler and Lily were at their weekend activities. Tyler had soccer and Lily had ballet, because I didn't want them to overhear anything upsetting. I had all my evidence organized in folders on my laptop, labeled by date and stuff. I was so nervous I thought I was going to throw up. When Dad got home, I asked him if we could talk privately in his office. He seemed kind of confused, but said sure. I was literally shaking when I sat down with my laptop. Like my hands were trembling so bad I could barely open the computer. I asked Dad if he'd noticed anything weird about the household lately, but he was confused and said he'd been busy with the Johnson project and hadn't noticed anything unusual. I explained that I'd been recording my interactions with Diana because she'd been hostile and threatening me about my education. Dad was skeptical at first and thought maybe I was overthinking things. So I played one of the recordings where Diana threatens to turn Dad against me and cut off my college funding. His face completely changed when he heard her actual voice saying all this stuff. Then I showed him the financial documents I found about Diana's hidden bank account and the credit card she opened in his name. He kept running his hand through his hair and looked really upset. He asked in a really soft voice if there was anything else he should know. That's when I showed him everything. All the recordings, the financial stuff, the screenshots of Diana's secret messages with her affair partner, and even the statement from her ex-husband about the custody violations. Dad just sat there in silence, occasionally asking me to replay specific recordings or looking more closely at certain documents. When I played the recording of Diana saying she married him for financial security because she was desperate to escape her financial mess, he looked completely destroyed. He was quiet for so long that I started to panic. I thought maybe he was mad at me for invading Diana's privacy or something. I started rambling and apologizing for not coming to him sooner and explaining why I felt I needed proof first. But then he thanked me for having the courage to show him the truth. I almost started crying right there. Dad asked for a few hours to process everything before confronting Diana. I agreed, but insisted on being there when he talked to her because I was seriously worried she would manipulate the situation if I wasn't there with the actual evidence. We decided to wait until that evening after the kids were asleep. Dad suggested we take Tyler and Lily out for pizza to keep things normal for them while he processed everything. That pizza dinner was so awkward. I was completely on edge and Dad was clearly in shock but trying to act normal for the kids. I kept catching him staring into space with this sad look on his face when Tyler and Lily weren't looking. Then came the confrontation with Diana after we put the kids to bed. God, it was even worse than I expected. Dad asked Diana to come to his office for a discussion. She looked irritated at first, then concerned when she saw both our serious expressions. Dad told her he had learned some disturbing information about her behavior and dishonesty. Diana immediately looked at me with hate and then turned to Dad with fake tears. She accused me of making up lies because I was jealous of their relationship and said I'd never accepted her as part of the family. Dad played one of the recordings of Diana talking about marrying him for money. Diana lunged at my laptop screaming that the recording was edited and taken out of context. Dad blocked her while I grabbed my computer and moved away. Then Diana completely switched tactics. She started sobbing, saying she didn't mean any of it and was just venting to me and that she loves Dad so much. But Dad just calmly presented the evidence of the hidden accounts and credit card fraud. It was scary how quickly Diana's tears disappeared when she realized her manipulation wasn't working. She tried one last defense, claiming everything she did was for her children's future. Then Dad asked about her relationship with Mike G. She went pale. She tried to grab her phone, but Dad told her it was too late and that he'd already seen enough evidence. He told Diana he wanted her out of the house that night and that all contact would go through lawyers from now on. What happened next was chaos. Diana was screaming that I had ruined everything, then begging Dad for another chance, then threatening that we would regret this. She tried to wake up Tyler and Lily to take them with her, but Dad stopped her and said they would discuss custody through legal channels. She finally left around midnight after packing some essentials. Her last words before leaving were that this isn't over by a long shot, which honestly still makes me nervous. The next few days were insane. Dad contacted his lawyer first thing in the morning and filed for divorce, citing fraud and financial misconduct. We found out Diana had stolen around $43,000 from various family accounts over their 3-year marriage. This included money from the college fund Dad had been building for Tyler and Lily. Who steals from their own kids' college fund? Diana's ex-husband Jason filed for emergency custody after I shared everything I knew about Diana's neglect and her affair, with Dad's permission, obviously. I gave a sworn statement and copies of recordings to help his case. We discovered that Diana had routinely been leaving the kids alone or with random teenage neighborhood kids during her affair meetups, which violated their custody agreement and basic safety standards. The whole legal process moved shockingly fast. The court gave emergency custody to Jason pending further hearings, with weekend visitation for Dad, since the kids are really bonded with him, but none for Diana until a full investigation is done. Dad's lawyer found out that Diana had been investigated for similar financial fraud in her first marriage, but the charges were dropped as part of their divorce settlement. This strengthened both the divorce case and the custody case against her. Diana has been posting vicious accusations about me and Dad on social media, claiming we manipulated recordings and abused her. But the friend she went to stay with actually came forward with information that Diana had confessed to the affair and financial stuff while staying with her. The friend provided an affidavit to Dad's lawyer after Diana told her about all these vindictive plans she had for getting revenge on me. and yes, I'm still looking over my shoulder constantly because of that. The divorce was finalized super quickly because of all the evidence and Diana's previous pattern of similar behavior. She lost the custody battle after the evidence of her neglect came out. Jason got primary custody and Diana only gets limited supervised visitation after she completes parenting classes and financial management courses. Diana's whole financial situation completely collapsed. Dad had a prenup with an infidelity clause, so she got no divorce settlement. With no alimony, reduced child support obligations due to the custody change, and a court order to repay the stolen funds, she had to take 2 retail jobs, working full-time at that boutique, and picking up evening shifts at a 24-hour pharmacy. Jason told me Diana had to move into this tiny studio apartment in a not great area and sell most of her designer clothes to cover legal fees. I don't feel bad for her at all after what she did, but I do feel bad for Tyler and Lily. They're confused about why they don't see Diana as much anymore. We've tried to explain it in age-appropriate ways, but it's still hard for them. As for me, I accepted my dream job. I've been working for 3 weeks now and I absolutely love it. I'm still living at home temporarily to help Dad through everything, but I'm planning to get my own place once things stabilize a bit more. I visit Tyler and Lily regularly during their time with Jason. He's actually been surprisingly cool about me staying involved with the kids despite everything that happened with Diana. The kids seem to be adjusting pretty well. Jason is way more attentive and consistent than Diana ever was. Dad is recovering slowly. He's going to therapy to process the betrayal and has cut back on work hours to focus on healing. Our relationship has gotten so much stronger through all this. He keeps apologizing for not seeing the warning signs sooner and thanking me for my courage. Last weekend, we actually revived our old movie night tradition and made Mom's caramel popcorn recipe for the first time in years. We both ended up crying, but in a healing way, I guess. I still feel guilty sometimes about how the kids' lives got disrupted, even though I know intellectually that it was Diana's behavior that caused all this. I'm proud of myself for standing up, but not gonna lie, the whole situation has left me with some serious trust issues. I'm doing counseling through my new job's benefits package, which is helping. I still get anxious whenever my phone rings, half expecting it to be Diana threatening me again. Yesterday, she actually tried to contact me to make amends, but my lawyer, Dad insisted on getting me my own lawyer for protection, said it's probably just an attempt to get me to convince Dad to drop the financial restitution requirements. I declined the meeting. The whole situation is still messy and not fully resolved. I still have nightmares about the confrontation sometimes, and I worry about Diana potentially causing problems in the future. But for the first time in a long time, I finally feel free to build my career and my life without manipulation and fear hanging over me. Thank you to everyone who commented on my previous posts and gave me the courage to stand up for myself and show Dad the truth. I couldn't have done it without your support. Edit. A lot of people are asking if Diana has tried to contact Dad directly. Yes, constantly. She calls from different numbers since he blocked her, sends emails, and even showed up at his workplace once. The lawyer is handling a restraining order now. For everyone asking about Mike G., the affair partner, turns out he's married with 3 kids. His wife found out about everything during all this drama, and they're also getting divorced. Diana and Mike aren't even together anymore, from what I heard. To answer questions about the financial recovery, Dad's lawyer is pursuing all legal options to get the stolen money back. But Diana claims she doesn't have it anymore, spent on luxury items, hotels, etc. The court ordered her to pay it back over time, which is why she's working 2 jobs now. Some people are asking how Diana was able to open a credit card in Dad's name. I guess when you're married, it's pretty easy to get access to someone's social security number and other personal info. Plus, Dad travels so much for work that she could have easily intercepted the mail when the card arrived. I don't know all the details, but apparently identity theft between spouses is more common than people realize.